Hello, everybody. This is Steve Yoder. Welcome to week 8 in Legal Studies 246 here in the summer of 2018 at the UAB Collat School of Business. This week we are looking at two new topics. First, we will look at international business transactions, and then we will start our look, which will take a couple of weeks. We will start our look at the law of contracts, which is extremely important for those of you who will be pursuing careers in business, and even for those of you who will be pursuing careers, say, at a governmental organization. Any organization, whether it's, quote, in business or not, uses contracts. So let's get started. First, thank you for all of those who took the time to look at the preview video for last week and sent me a Canvas mail message with the correct answer to this extra credit question, which was the word trademark. The dispute between Trader Joe's, the grocery store, and Pepperidge Farm was over whether the trademark for cookies was being infringed upon or not. This week, as I said, we'll have two separate topics. Both are in Module 8. Chapter 10 deals with international business transactions, and then we're skipping over a chapter that we'll cover later. Chapter 12, we'll start our look at the law of contracts. Looking first at international business transactions. One of the common misunderstandings about law is that there's some sort of law of the world. Well, there really is no international legal body that I know of. There are, however, treaties that get negotiated from time to time between countries. One of the most famous that's in the news today is the North American Free Trade Agreement, which President Trump, as recently as Thursday, June 21, 2018, said that he really did not like. When we look at international business transactions, we keep several key principles in mind. You can read what they are here. We'll be talking about all of these. One of the key international legal principles that everybody follows, even though there's no law of the world coming from some international legislature, but a key principle is called the Act of State Doctrine, which says that if a foreign country has taken an official action, other countries will respect it. And in the business world, this came home a number of years ago when the country of Venezuela took over the oil company we know as Citgo and began to do certain things to that business. We didn't like what that business began to do, but we had to respect it because the acts of Citgo were really the acts of a country. Another very important thing we'll be covering in international business transactions is the concept of currencies. Not everybody uses the dollar, and if you're going to sell or buy from or to other customers or sellers in other countries, you are going to have to figure out exactly whose currency you are going to use. Let's move on then to the law of contracts. We're going to start with how a contract gets formed. Just as we used a checklist in the law of torts, I strongly suggest you have a checklist when thinking about whether or not a contract has been formed. And whether a contract has been formed is something that is often in dispute because people will sign something and then regret it, and one side will try to get out of it. Here are the elements of a contract being formed. We'll be going over these, and if you had this slide printed out and set to the side, it would do you a lot of good. Again, checklists are used in many contexts. We're using it here to learn the law of contracts. Checklists are used to land airplanes in the Hudson River, and very importantly, as you'll see in an NBC News video in this week's learning module, checklists are used every single minute of every day in surgical operating rooms as well. We'll look at what different types of contracts there are. The difference between a bilateral contract and a unilateral contract is very important because it determines how an offer to form that contract does or does not get accepted. We're always, if you are at least desiring to uphold a contract, we're looking for the contract to be labeled valid. If you're trying to kill a contract, you're looking to label it voidable or void. So those three adjectives starting with a V are going to be very important this week as we look at the law of forming contracts. Here's an interesting example from not too long ago. This is not an extra credit question, about something that Kanye West came out and said, and there was some question raised about whether this was or was not an offer. Finally, always take a look at the Canvas calendar to make sure you're keeping up with your assignments. We are now in the last week of June. Here is the calendar for the month of July. I have July's calendar up here because it is July 1 that will be the date of the next assignments coming due, and you can see that there are a number of assignments coming due on that date, Sunday, July 1 at 11:59 p.m., including posting on the VoiceThread discussion board. And then, not to look too far out, but our second exam will be on Friday, will be closing on Friday, July 15, 2018 at 11:59 p.m. It will be opening the day before that.